Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're journeying back in time to Paris, 1889. The city is buzzing. Electricity is in the air, quite literally. The Exposition Universelle, the World's Fair, is about to open, and at its heart stands a structure so audacious, so controversial. It has the entire world talking. It's a towering lattice of iron, reaching for the heavens like nothing ever built before. This is the story of the Eiffel Tower, a structure born from defiance and destined for greatness. Imagine the scene. Horse-drawn carriages clatter on cobblestone streets. Men in top hats and women in elaborate gowns gather from every corner of the globe. They've come to witness the marvels of the modern age, and the centerpiece of it all, Monsieur Gustave Eiffel's magnificent and to some monstrous tower. When the fair's gates swung open, the tower wasn't just a curiosity. It became an absolute sensation. It was the must-see attraction, the ultimate symbol of the industrial age's power and ambition. In that first year alone, over 2 million people made the pilgrimage. They flocked to its base, craning their necks to take in its immense scale. And then, they began to climb. Can you imagine the feeling? Ascending this open-air staircase, the city of Paris shrinking below you with every step. For some, it was a terrifying experience, a dizzying climb into the unknown. But for others, it was transformative. It offered a perspective on the world they had never seen before, a godlike view of the city. The tower was no longer just an iron structure. It was becoming a symbol of human triumph, a testament to what ingenuity and daring could achieve. But amidst the cheers in the AOD, there was a loud chorus of dissent. Paris's artistic and literary elite had been protesting the tower from the very beginning. They called it a useless and monstrous blot on the Parisian skyline. Famous writers like Guy de Maupassant reportedly ate lunch in the Tower Est restaurant every day because it was the only place in Paris where he didn't have to look at it. They saw it as a temporary eyesore, a disgrace that needed to be dismantled. And they had a legal point. The permit for the tower was only for 20 years. The plan was always to tear it down after the fair. As the years ticked by, the calls for its removal grew louder. But Gustave Eiffel had other plans. He was a visionary, and he saw a future for his creation that went far beyond being a simple fairground attraction. When faced with the demands to dismantle his masterpiece, he famously declared, "I have built it not for the fair, but for the future." And he set out to prove its indispensability. He wasn't just an engineer, he was a scientist at heart. Eiffel transformed the top of his tower into a world-class scientific laboratory, a perch high above the city, perfect for observation and experimentation. From this unique vantage point, he began to measure wind speeds, gathering crucial data that had never been accessible before. He conducted experiments in aerodynamics, dropping objects to study their fall. He turned the tower into a giant antenna, testing the brand new technology of radio transmissions. In doing so, he helped pioneer the entire field of meteorology. He was proving, day by day, that his tower was not just an ornament, but a vital tool for progress. The Iron Lady, as she came to be known, had found her purpose. She was no longer just a spectacle. She was a servant to science and a beacon for the future, and that future arrived sooner and more dramatically than anyone could have imagined. Fast forward to 1914. The Belle Epoque has ended, and the dark clouds of war are gathering over Europe. The continent is plunged into the Great War, World War I. Paris is no longer a city of lights and laughter. It's a city on the front lines, its streets filled with marching soldiers, its heart filled with anxiety. And in this new, grim reality, the Eiffel Tower's role would transform once again. It was about to become more than a monument, more than a lab. It was about to become a weapon. During the war, the tower's height made it the most valuable communications hub in France. Its powerful antenna, which Eiffel had so presciently installed, was used to relay critical military messages across the country and to the front lines. But its most crucial contribution came during the First Battle of the Marne. French forces used the tower to intercept German radio communications. They decoded enemy plans, learning about troop movements and strategies. This intelligence was vital. It allowed the French command to anticipate German maneuvers and organize a successful counterattack that halted the German advance on Paris. Some historians argued that without the Eiffel Tower's contribution, the battle might have been lost, and Paris might have fallen. The useless tower had become a silent guardian of the city. Decades later, war returned to Paris. In 1940, during World War II, the unthinkable happened. German forces occupied the city. The swastika flew over Parisian landmarks, a symbol of defeat and oppression. Adolf Hitler himself came to tour his new prize. He had a particular interest in the Eiffel Tower and, in a fit of rage and a desire to crush the French spirit, he ordered it to be destroyed. He commanded his military governor to rig the tower with explosives and tear it down. The symbol of Paris was to be reduced to a pile of scrap metal, but that command was never carried out. The German general in charge of Paris, Dietrich von Choltitz, couldn't bring himself to destroy such a beautiful and iconic monument. But the French resistance had their own, more subtle, act of defiance. When Hitler arrived for his grand visit, hoping for a triumphant ride to the top to survey his conquest, he was told the elevators were broken. The French had sneakily cut the lift cables. If the Führer wanted to reach the summit, he would have to climb all 1,665 stairs himself. He declined. Hitler never set foot on top of the tower. It was a small victory, but a deeply symbolic one. The tower refused to bow to the tyrant. For 4 years, the tower stood silently over an occupied city. Then, in August 1944, as Allied forces approached, the liberation of Paris began. In the midst of the fighting, a French flag secretly stitched together from bedsheets was raised on the tower, a powerful signal that freedom was returning. As the war ended, the Eiffel Tower stood tall and unscathed. It had survived 2 world wars, an order for its destruction and the scorn of its critics. It was no longer just a symbol of industrial might or scientific progress. It had become a global emblem of freedom, resilience, and the enduring spirit of resistance. From a controversial fair attraction to a scientific marvel, a military asset, and a beacon of liberty. The Eiffel Tower's story is one of constant reinvention. It's a reminder that the true value of something isn't always apparent at first glance. What was once dismissed as a monstrosity is now one of the most beloved and recognized structures on Earth, welcoming millions of visitors who, just like those first fair-goers, look up in wonder. In the heart of Paris, as dawn breaks, a monument pierces the sky, shimmering in the golden light. It's a symbol recognized the world over. A beacon of love, revolution, and human ambition. This is the Eiffel Tower. For over a century, it has stood as a silent witness to history, watching empires fall, lovers embrace, and the world change beneath its intricate steel arches. But beyond its breathtaking beauty lies a story filled with controversy, genius, and incredible survival. This isn't just a tale of metal and boats. It's the story of how one man's audacious dream reshaped the Parisian skyline forever. Let's rewind to the late 1800s. The world was in the grip of the Industrial Revolution, a whirlwind of change, driven by electricity, steam, and steel. France, eager to showcase its prowess, was preparing for the grand 1889 World's Fair, an event marking the centenary of the French Revolution. The nation needed a centerpiece, something spectacular to announce its place on the world stage, and a visionary engineer named Gustave Eiffel had a bold, almost unbelievable idea: to construct a tower taller than anything humanity had ever built. When Eiffel unveiled his proposal for a 300-meter iron tower, the reaction from the people of Paris was not one of excitement, but of horror. The city's artistic elite called it a monstrous disgrace, a tragic street lamp. Newspapers relentlessly mocked it, dubbing it an odious column of bolted metal and a gigantic black smokestack. The backlash was immense, but Gustave Eiffel was undeterred. He famously declared, "I ought to be jealous of the tower. She is more famous than I am." He was determined to prove that metal, a material of industry, could also possess grace and beauty. Against a storm of opposition, construction began in January 1887. Every single one of the 18,038 iron pieces, every one of the 2.5 million rivets, was designed with mathematical precision. Eiffel's dedicated team of 300 workers labored tirelessly, assembling this colossal puzzle piece by piece, creating what would soon be hailed as a miracle of modern engineering. The construction itself was a spectacle. Imagine it. With no giant cranes, as we know them today, workers used steam-powered cranes that climbed up the tower as it grew. They worked high above the city, often in treacherous weather, assembling the iron lattice with astonishing speed and safety. In fact, due to Eiffel's stringent safety protocols, including guardrails and movable platforms, only one worker lost his life during the entire construction, a remarkable feat for the era. As the tower climbed higher, inch by inch, public opinion slowly began to shift. The skepticism and mockery started to transform into awe and wonder. Parisians would gather to watch the structure ascend, a vertical line drawing itself against the sky. The tower wasn't just being built, it was performing for the city. Finally, on March 31st, 1889, after just 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days of construction, the work was complete. Gustave Eiffel himself led a group of officials to the top, climbing all 1,710 steps to hoist the French flag. The Eiffel Tower was officially the tallest man-made structure in the world, a title it would hold for the next 41 years. The 1889 World's Fair was an astounding success, and the tower was its undisputed star. Millions of visitors from across the globe flocked to ride its elevators and gaze upon Paris from its observation decks. The iron skeleton had become the city's crown jewel, but its future was far from secure. The original permit was only for 20 years. The plan was to dismantle it in 1909. As the deadline approached, the tower needed to prove its worth beyond being a tourist attraction. Gustave Eiffel, a brilliant strategist as well as an engineer, knew this. He had already installed a meteorology lab on the 3rd floor, collecting valuable weather data, but its true salvation came from a new, revolutionary technology. The radio. The tower's great height made it an ideal antenna. In the early 1900s, it became a crucial hub for transatlantic radio transmissions. During World War I, its radio station played a pivotal role. It jammed German communications, helping to halt their advance on Paris in the First Battle of the Marne. It intercepted enemy messages that led to the capture of spies, including the infamous Mata Hari. The tower had transformed from a symbol of peace and industry into a vital instrument of national defense. Its usefulness had saved it from demolition. The 20th century saw the Eiffel Tower cement its place in the global consciousness. It became a muse for artists like Robert Delaunay and Marc Chagall, a backdrop for countless films, and a motif for every tribe. But its story took a dark turn during World War II. When Paris fell to German forces in 1940, French resistance fighters famously cut the tower's elevator cables. This meant that if Hitler wanted to hoist his flag from the top, his soldiers would have to climb the stairs. He never did. The tower remains stubbornly French, a quiet act of defiance. When Paris was liberated in 1944, the tricolor flag was once again raised triumphantly, and the elevators were quickly repaired. The tower had endured. Over the decades, the tower has been constantly reinvented. It's been painted 19 times since its construction, a process that takes 60 tons of paint and 3 years to complete, all done by hand to protect the iron. It's been illuminated by thousands of lights, and since the year 2000, it has dazzled the city with a sparkling light show every hour on the hour after sunset. This display uses 20,000 flashbulbs, turning the iron giant into a shimmering diamond against the night sky. It's not just a static monument, it's alive, breathing with the rhythm of the city. But let's look closer at the genius of its design. Eiffel wasn't just an artist, he was a master of physics. The tower's curved form isn't just for aesthetic appeal. It's engineered to be incredibly resistant to wind. The open lattice structure allows wind to pass through it, drastically reducing the force. On the windiest days, the top of the tower sways only about 12 centimeters, or less than 5 inches. The design also accounts for thermal expansion. On a hot, sunny day, the side facing the sun expands, causing the top of the tower to lean away from the sun by as much as 18 centimeters, or 7 inches. It's a structure that subtly moves and adapts to the elements. Today, the Eiffel Tower is more than just an icon of Paris. It's a global symbol of ingenuity and perseverance. It attracts nearly 7 million visitors a year, making it one of the most visited paid monuments in the world. From its summit, you can see up to 42 miles on a clear day. A panoramic view that has captivated millions. It hosts restaurants, a champagne bar, and even a secret apartment that Gustave Eiffel built for himself at the top. A private sanctuary where he entertained guests like Thomas Edison, from being called a useless and monstrous blot on the landscape to becoming the beloved heart of Paris. The Eiffel Tower's journey is a powerful testament to vision and resilience. It teaches us that sometimes the most revolutionary ideas are the ones that face the most resistance. It stands as a reminder that what is considered outrageous today can become the icon of tomorrow. The story of the Eiffel Tower is, ultimately, a story of human ambition, the desire to reach higher, to build bigger, and to create something beautiful and enduring that will inspire generations to come. It's not just iron and rivets, it's a dream forged in steel, standing tall against the test of time. Today, we rejourneying to the heart of Paris to tell the tale of an iron giant that defied its critics to become a global icon. The Eiffel Tower did a structure once called a useless and monstrous blot on the Parisian skyline become the very symbol of France. The story is filled with ambition, controversy, and a stubborn genius who refused to let his dream be torn down. So, grab your beret, and let's ascend into the incredible history of the Iron Lady. The year is 1887. Paris is abuzz, preparing to host the 1889 Exposition Universelle, a world's fair marking the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution. A competition is announced to build a spectacular temporary entrance arch for the exhibition on the Champ de Mars. The challenge is immense. It must be the tallest man-made structure in the world. From over 100 submissions, one design, radical and audacious, is chosen. It's a tower made entirely of open lattice, wrought iron, proposed by the engineering firm of Gustave Eiffel. Eiffel wasn't just a dreamer. He was a master bridge builder, a man who understood the language of iron and wind. He knew that to build higher than ever before, he couldn't use stone. It would be too heavy, too massive. The secret was a lightweight, yet incredibly strong, lattice structure that would allow the wind to pass through it, rather than push against it. The design, primarily developed by his brilliant engineers, Maurice Koechlin and Émile Nouguier, was a marvel of mathematical precision. It was daring, it was modern, and to many, it was utterly horrifying. Immediately, a firestorm of protest erupted from Paris's artistic and literary elite. A group of 300, including famous figures like writer Guy de Maupassant and composer Charles Gounod, signed a petition denouncing the project. Te Kayed Eat, a truly tragic street lamp, a gigantic black smokestack that would humiliate the city's cherished monuments like Notre Dame and the Arc de Triomphe. They saw it as a cold, industrial monstrosity, an insult to the delicate beauty of Paris. The pressure was intense, but Eiffel, backed by the government, held his ground. He was not just building a tower, he was building a testament to the industrial might and engineering prowess of modern France. The contract was signed, and construction began. The scale of the operation was staggering. Imagine this. Over 18,000 individual iron parts had to be designed, calculated to within 1/10 of a millimeter, and manufactured at Eiffel's factory on the outskirts of Paris. Each piece was then transported to the construction site. This wasn't just construction, it was a colossal feat of prefabrication, like a 10,000-ton Meccano set. On site, a team of just 300 workers, many of them former bridge builders used to working at great heights, began the assembly. Using wooden scaffolding and small, steam-powered cranes that literally crawled up the tower as it grew. They meticulously pieced the structure together. The precision was astounding. The rivet holes lined up perfectly. This was because most of the assembly work had already been done in the factory. The on-site job was to connect the large, pre-assembled sections. This methodical approach was not only efficient, but also incredibly safe. Despite the dizzying heights and the dangerous nature of the work, only one fatality occurred during construction, a remarkable record for the time. Piece by piece, the iron skeleton began to climb, rising from the Champ de Mars. First, the 4 massive piers, anchored in deep concrete foundations. Then, the first level, a sprawling platform that would later house restaurants and shops. Paris watched in a mixture of awe and apprehension as the strange metal latticework grew higher each day. By March 31st, 1889, just over 2 years after it began, the final piece was put in place. The tower had reached its full height of 300 meters, officially becoming the tallest man-made structure on Earth, a title it would hold for the next 41 years. To mark the occasion, Gustave Eiffel himself, accompanied by a few brave companions, climbed the 1,710 stairs to the very top. There, with the wind whipping around him, he unfurled the French trike. Below, a 21-gun salute boomed, and the crowd that had gathered on the Champ de Mars erupted in a wild cheer. Against all odds, and in the face of fierce opposition, the Iron Lady of Paris was born. When the 1889 World's Fair opened its gates, the tower was the undisputed star of the show. The controversy that had surrounded its construction seemed to melt away, replaced by sheer wonder. Visitors from every corner of the globe flocked to see it, to ride its brand new hydraulic elevators, and to gaze out at the breathtaking panoramic view of Paris from its observation decks. In that first year alone, nearly 2 million people made the ascent. It was a cultural phenomenon and an economic success, recouping almost all of its construction costs in the first year. The tower wasn't just an engineering marvel, it was a symbol of progress, a bold statement that the impossible could in fact be built. But its life was meant to be short. The original contract stipulated that the tower was to be dismantled after 20 years. As the 1909 deadline approached, the old criticisms resurfaced. Many still saw it as a temporary gimmick that had overstayed its welcome. But Gustave Eiffel was not about to let his masterpiece be turned into scrap metal. He was a pragmatist and a scientist, and he knew the tower's greatest value might lie not in its beauty, but in its utility. Eiffel had always envisioned his tower as more than just an attraction. He had built a small apartment and laboratory for himself at the top, where he conducted experiments in meteorology and astronomy. He used it to study wind resistance, dropping objects of different shapes and sizes to measure their fall. But it's true, saving grace came with the dawn of a new technology: wireless telegraphy, or radio. The tower's immense height made it the perfect radio antenna. In 1903, Eiffel offered its use to the French military. Soon, a permanent radio transmitter was installed, and the tower began playing a crucial role in long-distance communication. It had found its purpose. Its strategic importance was now undeniable, and the city decided to let it stand. The tower's value was proven just a few years later during World War I. The radio station at its summit became a vital military asset. In 1914, at the start of the war, it jammed German radio signals, severely disrupting their communications and contributing to the pivotal French victory at the First Battle of the Marne. It also intercepted enemy messages, including the infamous Mata Hari communique that led to the spies' capture. The tower was no longer just a monument. It was a silent guardian of France. Decades later, during World War II, the Eiffel Tower would once again become a symbol of defiance. When Paris felt a German occupation in 1940, Hitler visited the city. His plan was to hoist a swastika flag from the top of the tower. But when he arrived, he found the elevator cables had been mysteriously cut by French resistance fighters. If the Führer wanted to reach the top, he would have to climb all 1,710 stairs. The clan? For the 4 years of occupation, the tower remained closed to the public, a quiet but powerful symbol of a nation under siege, waiting for its liberation. When Paris was finally freed in 1944, the French tricolor was once again raised to its peak, a joyous sight for all of France. In the post-war years, the Eiffel Tower was reborn. It shed its wartime identity and embraced a new role as the beating heart of a romantic and artistic Paris. It became the ultimate backdrop for lovers, a beacon for dreamers, and an endless source of inspiration for painters, poets, and filmmakers. It has been the site of countless marriage proposals, daredevil stunts, and spectacular light shows. Every night, its golden lights sparkle for 5 minutes on the hour, a dazzling display that enchants both tourists and Parisians alike. Today, the Iron Lady welcomes nearly 7 million visitors a year, making it one of the most visited paid monuments in the world. It's hard to imagine Paris without it. The structure, once derided as a monstrous eyesore, has become the city's most beloved and defining feature. timeless symbol of ingenuity, resilience, and the enduring spirit of Paris itself. Gustave Eiffel's iron marvel didn't just touch the clouds, it captured the world. As a machination, this World's Fair wasn't just a party, it was a declaration, a celebration of the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution, and a chance to showcase France's prowess in science, art, and industry to the entire world. But every great show needs a centerpiece, a jaw-dropping spectacle that leaves everyone speechless. The organizers faced a monumental question. What could they build that would truly represent this new era? What structure could symbolize the sheer audacity of human progress, a beacon of a new age defined by science and steel? The call went out for a design, and the competition was fierce. They needed something that wasn't just big, but revolutionary. Amidst this creative storm stood one man, a visionary engineer named Alexander Gustave Eiffel. You might know his name, but at the time, he was renowned for something else entirely. His masterful iron bridges that stitched together the French landscape. Eiffel wasn't just a builder, he was an artist who saw poetry in pylons and beauty in beams. He had a dream, a wild, almost audacious idea that pushed the limits of what was considered possible. He envisioned a tower, not just any tower, but a colossal structure made entirely of iron, soaring an astonishing 300 meters into the sky. To put that in perspective, it would be twice as tall as the Great Pyramid of Giza, utterly dwarfing every other man-made structure on the planet. He proposed the lattice of wrought iron, a skeleton of strength and elegance that would pierce the Parisian clouds. It was a concept born from the principles he'd mastered building bridges, but scaled to a level of ambition that bordered on fantasy. However, Eiffel's dream was met with immediate and fierce opposition. The artistic and literary elite of Paris were horrified. They called his proposal a truly tragic street lamp, a gigantic black smokestack that would cast a barbaric shadow over the beloved city. To them, iron was a crude, industrial material fit for factories and railways, not for a grand monument in the heart of Paris, the cultural capital of the world. They penned a furious letter, the protest of the artists, pleading to stop the construction of this useless and monstrous tower. But Eiffel was a man of conviction. He saw what others didn't. He understood that form and function could be one and the same. To him, the intricate web of iron wasn't ugly. It was an honest expression of the forces it was designed to withstand. He argued that the laws of physics themselves would dictate the tower's elegant, sweeping curves. "My tower will be the tallest edifice ever raised by man," he declared. "Will it not therefore be grand in its own way? And why would what is admirable in Egypt become hideous and ridiculous in Paris?" He believed his creation would be more than just a structure. It would be a testament to the age of industry, a symbol of beauty found in engineering. Despite the public outcry, Eiffel's design won the commission. His plan was not only the most daring, but also the most meticulously planned. Every one of the 18,038 iron pieces was designed with incredible precision. The construction began in January 1887, and it was a marvel of modern logistics and labor management. It was like watching a giant mechanical creature assemble itself. The site on the Champ de Mars was transformed into a buzzing hive of activity. Huge steam-powered cranes lifted massive iron girders into the air. Hundreds of workers, known as asterisk putrialis, fearlessly climbed the growing structure, riveting the pieces together. It was dangerous, high-altitude work, but Eiffel prioritized safety in a way that was unheard of at the time. He implemented mobile scaffolding, guardrails, and safety screens. In an era when large construction projects often claimed many lives, the Eiffel Tower's construction was remarkably safe, a testament to his meticulous planning. As the tower grew higher and higher, public opinion began to shift. The initial horror turned into grudging respect, and then into outright hate. Parisians would gather to watch its daily progress, mesmerized as this iron skeleton defied gravity and reached for the heavens. It was no longer just a project. It was a national spectacle. The tower became a symbol not of ugliness, but of French ingenuity and determination. Finally, on March 31st, 1889, after just 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days of construction, the work was complete. Gustave Eiffel himself led a small group of officials to the top, climbing the 1,710 steps to hoist the French flag. The city of Paris, and indeed the world, watched in astonishment. The structure that had been so viciously attacked was now the pride of the nation. When the Exposition Universelle opened, the Eiffel Tower was the undisputed star. Nearly 2 million people ascended the tower during the fair alone. They rode the cutting-edge hydraulic elevators to its observation decks and were rewarded with a view of Paris that no human had ever seen before. It offered a godlike perspective, transforming the familiar city into a living map. The tower wasn't just an attraction, it was an experience. It housed restaurants, a post office, and even a small printing press that produced a daily newspaper. At the very top, Eiffel built a private apartment for himself, where he hosted famous guests like Thomas Edison. Originally, the tower was intended to be a temporary structure, scheduled to be dismantled after 20 years. But by then, it had woven itself into the fabric of Paris. More importantly, it had found a new purpose. Its height made it an invaluable platform for scientific experiments and, crucially, for the new technology of radio communication. During World War I, its radio telegraph transmitter played a vital role in intercepting enemy messages, helping to secure victory at the Battle of the Marne. The useless tower had proven to be indispensable. Today, the Eiffel Tower is more than just a monument. It's an icon, recognized instantly around the globe. It represents Paris, romance, and the enduring power of a bold idea. The Iron Lady, once scorned as a monstrosity, has become one of the most beloved structures in the world, visited by millions each year, who come to marvel at its grace and the incredible vision of the man who dared to dream of a tower that could touch the sky. It stands as a timeless lesson that sometimes the craziest ideas are the ones that change the world forever. Imagine Paris in the late 19th century. The air crackles with energy, a city alight with the marvels of a new industrial age. Street lamps cast a golden glow on bustling boulevards. The clatter of horse-drawn carriages fills the streets, and whispers of progress echo in every grand cafe. This was the Belle Epoque, a time of unprecedented optimism, artistic flourishing, and technological ambition. The world was changing faster than ever before, and Paris was its beating heart. Preparing to host the 1889 Exposition Universelle, the World's fairest spectacle intended to showcase the pinnacle of human achievement. Amid this fever of innovation stood one man whose vision would forever alter the city as silhouette: Alexander Gustave Eiffel. Eiffel wasn't just any engineer. He was a master of metal, a poet of pylons and trusses. His name was already etched into the landscape, carried across rivers and valleys by the elegant, revolutionary iron bridges he had designed. He saw iron not as a coarse, brute material, but as the very essence of modernity light, strong and capable of reaching for the heavens. And reach he did. In his mind's eye, a structure began to take shape. Something so audacious, so daring, that it bordered on the fantastical. He dreamed of building a tower, not of stone or brick, but of intricate iron lacework. A tower that would pierce the clouds, soaring to a breathtaking height of 300 meters. At the time, this was unimaginable. It would be twice as tall as the Washington Monument, then the tallest structure on Earth. It would dwarf every cathedral, every palace, every monument built by humanity. But to many Parisians, Eiffel's dream was not a vision. It was a nightmare. In an era that revered the neoclassical grace of stone and marble, iron was considered ugly, crude, and industrial. It was the stuff of factories, of railway tracks, of machines belching smoke, not the material of a national monument. The idea of a colossal iron skeleton dominating the romantic skyline of Paris was met with horror and derision. Critics dismissed it as a folly, a grotesque vanity project. Yet, Eiffel remained steadfast. He saw no conflict between function and form, between engineering and art. He believed they were two sides of the same coin. With unwavering confidence, he famously said, "My tower will be both useful and beautiful," testament to the age of industry. He knew his creation would be more than just a structure. It would be a symbol of human ingenuity, a bold declaration of a new era. When Eiffel officially unveiled his design, the polite whispers of doubt erupted into a full-blown public outcry. The reaction was instant, and it was furious. Paris's cultural elite, the guardians of its artistic soul, were again. Newspapers became battlegrounds. their pages filled with scathing editorials and letters of protest. In the city's famed cafes, artists, writers, and intellectuals gathered to debate the controversial project, their voices thick with indignation. A group of the most celebrated figures in French arts and letters, including the writer Guy de Maupassant and the composer Charles Gounod, penned a fiery petition. They condemned the proposed tower as a monstrous black smokestack, a hateful column of bolted sheet metal that would cast a barbaric shadow over their beloved city. Their words were dripping with disdain. One prominent writer lamented, "For 20 years, we shall see stretching over the entire city still vibrant. With the genius of so many centuries, we shall see stretching like a black ink spot the odious shadow of the odious column." Another painted a dramatic picture of destruction. "We shall see this gigantic skeleton crushing beneath its weight. All of our monuments, Notre Dame, the Louvre, the Arc de Triomphe." They called it a truly tragic street lamp, an ungainly and ridiculous tower that would dishonor Paris. The pressure was immense. It felt as though the entire artistic establishment of France had united against this single man and his audacious vision. Eiffel stood almost entirely alone against the tidal wave of criticism. Yet, he did not waver. Facing the fury of his country's greatest minds, Eiffel responded not with anger, but with the calm conviction of a man who knows he is on the right side of history. He defended his tower with the precision of an engineer and the passion of an artist. He argued that the laws of structural force would naturally create a form of immense harmony and beauty. He countered their accusations of ugliness by explaining the mathematical elegance of its curves, designed to withstand the powerful Parisian winds. With a prophetic certainty that silenced many of his detractors, he declared, "The tower will be the pride of France and the envy of the world." He had staked his reputation, his fortune, and his legacy on this single, colossal gamble. In the summer of 1887, against all odds, the first foundations were laid at the Champ de Mars. Construction began, and all of Paris, indeed the world, held its breath. The construction site was a spectacle in itself, a symphony of human labor and mechanical might. It was a marvel of 19th century logistics and precision engineering. Over 2.5 years, between 150 and 300 workers swarmed over the growing metal structure like ants on a giant lattice. Every single piece of the tower was meticulously prefabricated at Eiffel's factory in a suburb of Paris. Each of the 18,038 pieces of puddled iron was designed, calculated, and cut with astonishing accuracy down to 1/10 of a millimeter. Then, these pieces were transported to the site by horse-drawn carts. The assembly was a complex three-dimensional puzzle. Workers, many of whom were skilled bridge builders and sailors accustomed to heights, would hoist the massive iron beams into place using steam-powered cranes that crawled up the tower as it grew. They were a special breed of men, nicknamed sealiers or skyworkers, balancing on narrow beams hundreds of feet in the air. With nothing but the Parisian sky below them, they painstakingly joined the pieces together. The sound of riveting filled the air, a constant, rhythmic hammering that became the soundtrack of the district. A team of 4 men was needed for each rivet. One heated it to a cherry-red glow. Another placed it in the hole. A third held it steady, while the fourth hammered the head into its final shape. As the rivet cooled, it contracted, pulling the plates together with incredible force. Over 2.5 million of these rivets were hammered by hand, binding the tower into a single, immensely strong entity. Remarkably, despite the perilous conditions and the unprecedented scale of the project, the construction was exceptionally safe. Eiffel was not just a brilliant engineer. He was also a man who cared deeply for his workers. He instituted strict safety measures that were far ahead of their time, including movable guardrails, safety screens, and requiring workers to use harnesses. Thanks to these precautions, only 1 man lost his life during the construction, a tragedy that occurred after hours and was not worked. This safety record was nothing short of miraculous for a project of this magnitude in that era. As the tower rose higher and higher, the initial hostility from the public began to shift. Anger turned to curiosity, and curiosity blossomed into awe. Parisians would gather at the edge of the construction site, day after day, mesmerized, watching this impossible structure climb towards the heavens. Piece by incredible piece, on March 31st, 1889, the moment of triumph arrived. The Eiffel Tower was complete, just in time for the opening of the exposition unit. To commemorate the occasion, Gustave Eiffel himself, accompanied by a small group of officials and journalists, undertook the final ascent. There were no elevators yet, so they climbed the 1,710 steps to the top. As they reached the summit, Eiffel proudly unfurled a massive French tricolor flag, which fluttered defiantly in the wind, visible from all across Paris. At 300 meters, his tower was officially the tallest man-made structure in the world, a title it would hold for the next 41 years. The city that had once scorned his vision now erupted in celebration. The monstrous smokestack had become a national treasure. The tower was an instant sensation. During the World's Fair alone, nearly 2 million visitors made the journey to its viewing platforms, eager to see their city from a perspective no human had ever witnessed before. The elevators, a feat of engineering in themselves, whisked people up into the sky, offering breathtaking panoramas of Paris and the surrounding countryside. What was once a symbol of artistic controversy was now the ultimate symbol of French pride and technological prowess. Even its harshest critics began to soften, while some remained unconvinced. Guy de Maupassant famously claimed he often ate lunch in the Tower's restaurant because it was the only place in Paris where he could see the tower itself. The overwhelming public sentiment was one of love and admiration. The tower was never intended to be permanent. The original contract stipulated that it should be dismantled after 20 years, but by then, the Iron Lady had woven herself into the very fabric of Parisian identity. More importantly, she had proven her utility beyond just being a tourist attraction. At the turn of the century, the tower became a vital hub for scientific discovery. Eiffel installed a meteorology lab at the top to collect data on wind speed and air pressure. But its most crucial role came with the advent of a new technology: radio. The tower's great height made it an unparalleled antenna. In the early 1900s, it was used for the first experiments in wireless telegraphy, sending signals all the way to North America. During World War I, its radio telegraph station played a decisive strategic role, intercepting enemy communications that helped lead to a crucial victory at the Battle of the Marne. The tower had saved itself by proving it was indispensable. Today, the Eiffel Tower is more than just a monument. It is an icon recognized and beloved across the globe. It is the quintessential symbol of Paris, of France, and of romance itself. Every year, millions of people from every corner of the world come to stand beneath its arches, to ride its elevators, and to gaze out from its summit, just as those first visitors did over a century ago. It sparkles every night with 20,000 light bulbs, a beacon of hope and beauty in the city of light. The story of its creation is a powerful testament to the courage of one man's vision against the tide of public opinion. It reminds us that what is considered radical or even ugly in one era can become the cherished and timeless icon of the next. Gustave Eiffel's gigantic skeleton did not crush Paris's monuments. It became the crown jewel that completes them, proving his bold prediction true. The tower became the pride of France, and truly, the envy of the world. Have you ever looked at something magnificent, like the Eiffel Tower, and just assumed it was always loved, that it was welcomed with open arms? Well, get ready for a story that will completely change how you see that iconic Parisian landmark. Because the truth is, the Eiffel Tower was born not from applause, but from outrage. Imagine this. It's the late 1880s in Paris, the cultural heart of the world. Gustave Eiffel, a brilliant engineer, unveils his design for a colossal iron tower for the upcoming 1889 World's Fair. He sees it as a symbol of French ingenuity, a testament to the modern age of steel and science. But Paris was horrified. Instantly, the city's artistic elite revolted. Imagine newspapers flying off the presses, the headlines screaming with fury. In the smoky cafes of Montmartre, poets and painters weren't just debating. They were drafting furious letters of protest. A group of the most famous artists of the time, names like Guy de Maupassant and Alexandre Dumas, the younger, signed a petition. They called Eiffel's creation a useless and monstrous tower, a gigantic black smokestack that would loom over the city like a stain. One prominent writer lamented, and I quote, "We shall see this gigantic skeleton crushing beneath its weight all of our monuments, Notre Dame, the Louvre, the Arc, the Triomphe." They envisioned their beautiful, historic skyline. The pride of France, being violated by this cold, industrial giant. It wasn't just criticism. It was a declaration of war on Eiffel's vision. Think about the pressure. The entire artistic establishment, the cultural gatekeepers of Paris, were united against him. It was a storm of public ridicule and condemnation. Most people would have backed down, revised their plans, or abandoned the project altogether. But not Gustave Eiffel. He stood his ground, a lone figure against a sea of critics. With a calm conviction that must have seemed like madness to his opponents, he made a bold proclamation. He declared, "The tower will be the pride of France and the envy of the world." He wasn't just building a structure, he was defending the future. He believed in progress, in engineering, in the beauty of mathematics and form. And so, in 1887, against all odds, and amidst a city holding its breath in collective anxiety, construction began. The scale of the operation was unlike anything the world had ever seen. The process didn't start on the fields of the Champ de Mars, but in Eiffel's own factory on the outskirts of Paris. Here, a symphony of fire and steel was underway. More than 18,000 individual pieces of puddled iron superstrung, pure form of iron were forged. Each girder, each plate, each beam was a custom piece, measured and shaped with scientific precision down to a tenth of a millimeter. Think of it as the world's most complex, gigantic 3D puzzle. Every single piece was designed to fit perfectly with the others. It was a marvel of While the foundations were being laid in Paris, the skeleton of the tower was already taking shape in the factory. This meticulous planning was the secret to the project's incredible speed and accuracy. Then came the human element. At the construction site on the Champ de Mars, a team of over 300 workers began the daunting task of assembly. And when I say daunting, I mean it. These men were the unsung heroes of the Eiffel Tower. They were known as skywalkers. Picture this. There are no modern cranes as we know them. No safety harnesses, no nets. These men climbed the growing lattice of iron with nothing but their hands, their feet, ropes, and sheer, unadulterated courage. They were a mix of sailors used to climb in masts and steeplejacks accustomed to high-altitude work. Their balance was impeccable, their strength undeniable, and their willpower simply extraordinary. They would casually walk along beams hundreds of feet in the air, hammering red-hot rivets into place. Each rivet was a four-man operation. One man would heat it in a small furnace until it was cherry red. He'd then toss it high into the air to a catcher, who would snag it in a bucket. The catcher would then place it into the hole, and two other men, the riveters, would hammer it into place from opposite sides, all before it cooled down. They hammered in 2.5 million of these rivets, one by one. It was a dance of danger and precision performed high above the city. As the iron beams rose higher and higher, the mood in Paris began to shift. The daily spectacle of construction became the city's greatest attraction. Parisians who had once scoffed at the design now gathered in droves to watch. First, they came in disbelief, unable to comprehend how this metal skeleton could possibly stand. Then, as the tower gracefully curved upwards, their disbelief turned into something else. They saw not a monstrous smokestack, but a delicate, intricate lacework of iron reaching for the heavens. The tower grew at an astonishing pace, sometimes as much as 12 meters in a single day. The critics grew quieter. The city was falling in love. By March 1889, just 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days after construction began, the impossible had become a reality. The final piece was hoisted into place at 324 meters. The Eiffel Tower was officially the tallest man-made structure on Earth, snatching the title from the Washington Monument. It was a record it would hold for the next 41 years. On opening day, Gustave Eiffel, the man who had weathered the storm of criticism, did something symbolic. He didn't just cut a ribbon at the bottom. He climbed it, all 1,710 steps to the very top himself, accompanied by city officials and the press. There, at the pinnacle of his creation, overlooking the city that had once scorned him, he planted the French tricolor flag. With the flag unfurling in the wind, he made another declaration, one filled with vindication and national pride. He said, "France is not behind in progress. She leads the world, yet done Italiano." He had proven them all wrong. The monstrous skeleton was now a national treasure, a symbol of French ambition and a beacon of modernity that would captivate the world for generations to come. So the next time you see a picture of the Eiffel Tower, remember its incredible origin story. It's a powerful lesson that the greatest innovations often face the loudest resistance. It is a testament to the power of a single person, as conviction and the courage of the workers who turned that vision into a breathtaking reality. The Eiffel Tower isn't just a tower, it's a monument to daring to be different. Today, we're re-embarking on a journey to the heart of Paris to uncover the story of a true global icon, the Eiffel Tower. What if I told you that this symbol of love and beauty was once despised, called a useless and monstrous blot on the Parisian skyline? Hard to believe, right? Well, stick with us as we dive into the incredible tale of how the Iron Lady rose from controversy to capture the hearts of millions. It's a story of ambition, innovation, and a battle against time. Our story begins in the late 19th century. Paris is buzzing with excitement, preparing to host the 1889 Exposition Universelle, or World's Fair. This grand event was set to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution. A competition was announced to design a spectacular centerpiece for the fair, a monument that would showcase France's industrial prowess and modern engineering. The challenge was simple yet audacious. Build a 300-meter-tall iron tower. Over 100 designs were submitted, ranging from the practical to the downright bizarre. But one proposal, submitted by the engineering firm of Gustave Eiffel, stood out. Now, it's a common misconception that Gustave Eiffel himself designed the tower from scratch. The initial concept actually came from two of his senior engineers, Maurice Koechlin and Emile. Their first draft was a bit skeletal, a tall pylon that was functional but lacked artistic flair. It was the architect Stephen Sylvester who was brought in to add the elegant decorative arches at the base, the grand glass pavilion on the first level, and the cupola at the very top. These additions transformed the structure from a mere feat of engineering into a work of art. Eiffel was so confident in this refined design that he bought the patent rights and put his company's name and his own reputation on the line to build it. Construction began in January 1887, and it was a marvel of precision and efficiency. Imagine this. Over 18,000 individual iron parts were prefabricated in Eiffel's factory on the outskirts of Paris, each piece engineered with an accuracy of up to 1/10 of a millimeter. These were then transported to the Champ de Mars construction site, a team of around 300 workers, many of whom were former high-scaffold construction workers, undertook the daring task of assembling this giant puzzle. Using a system of steam-powered cranes that crawled up the tower as it grew, they meticulously riveted the pieces together. It was dangerous work, but thanks to Eiffel's strict safety protocols, including movable stagings and guardrails, only one life was lost during construction, a remarkably low number for a project of this scale at the time. But as the tower climbed higher and higher, so did the volume of public outcry. A committee of 300, led by prominent figures from the arts and literature world, including the writer Guy de Maupassant and the composer Charles Gounod, published a scathing petition. They decried the tower as a truly tragic street lamp, a black and gigantic factory chimney that would overshadow the beauty of Paris's historic monuments like Notre Dame and the Arc de Triomphe. They feared it would be an unforgivable stain on their beloved city. The criticism was relentless, but Eiffel stood firm. He defended his project not just as an engineering triumph, but as a symbol of modern beauty and scientific progress. He argued that the principles of force and wind resistance had naturally created a structure of inherent grace. Despite the controversy, the tower was completed in a record time of 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days, finishing on March 31st, 1889, just in time for the opening of the Exposition. Gustave Eiffel himself climbed the 1,710 steps to the top to unfurl a massive French flag. The public was instantly captivated. The elevators, a technological marvel in their own right, weren't ready on opening day. But that didn't stop people. Thousands eagerly climbed the stairs to witness the breathtaking panoramic views of Paris, something no one had ever seen before. During the 6 months of the fair, nearly 2 million visitors made the ascent. The once-sated tower was suddenly the talk of the town and the world. It was a smash hit. The original plan was for the tower to be dismantled after 20 years. Its permit was only temporary. However, Gustave Eiffel was a brilliant strategist. He knew that to save his creation, he had to make it indispensable. He encouraged scientific experiments to be conducted from its heights. The tower became a laboratory in the sky, used for meteorology, astronomy, and physics. But its most crucial role came with the dawn of the 20th century. Eiffel installed a wireless telegraphy antenna at the very top, turning the tower into a vital communication hub. During World War I, this radio telegraph station intercepted critical enemy messages, including the radiogram of victory, which helped halt the German advance at the Battle of the Marne. The tower had proven its strategic importance. Its fate was sealed. It was here to stay. Over the decades, the Eiffel Tower has witnessed history unfold. It has been the backdrop for countless celebrations, a silent observer of 2 world wars, and a beacon of hope in times of darkness. It has also been a stage for daring stunts and unique events. In 1912, a tailor attempted to fly from the first platform with a parachute suit he designed. Sadly, it was an unsuccessful attempt. It's been painted various colors, including a vibrant Venetian red, and was even sold twice by a con artist named Victor Lustig in 1925. He convinced scrap metal dealers that the city could no longer afford its upkeep and was selling it for scrap. It's a story that just adds another layer to its incredible legend. Today, the Eiffel Tower is more than just iron and rivets. It's an emotion. It's the heartbeat of Paris. Each year, over 7 million people from every corner of the globe come to stand beneath its arches or ascend to its summit. It has inspired artists like Robert Delaunay, filmmakers who frame it in romantic scenes, and countless dreamers who see it as a symbol of possibility. Every night, it puts on a spectacular show. Since the year 2000, 4 or 5 minutes at the top of every hour, 20,000 sparkling lights flash across its latticework, a dazzling display that turns the city of light into a city of magic. This nightly spectacle is a reminder that the tower is not a static monument, but a living, breathing part of the city. Maintaining this 130-year-old landmark is a colossal task. A team of engineers and specialized technicians work year-round, inspecting every inch of the structure. And get this, every 7 years, the entire tower is repainted by hand to protect it from the elements. This requires about 60 tons of a special, trademarked Eiffel Tower brown paint. These painters, known as painters, acrobats, are 2 daredevils working at dizzying heights to preserve the Iron Lady's beauty for future generations. It's a continuous labor of love, ensuring that the tower remains as strong and stunning as the day it was built. From a controversial project to a beloved icon, the Eiffel Tower's journey is a powerful testament to human ingenuity and the enduring power of a bold vision. Gustave Eiffel once famously said, "I ought to be jealous of the tower. She is more famous than I am." And he was right. The tower took on a life of its own, becoming a universal symbol of France, of Paris, of love, and of daring to dream big. It stands as a timeless reminder that sometimes the things that challenge our perceptions the most are the very things that end up defining us. The Iron Lady will continue to rise proudly over the Seine, whispering her stories of courage, passion, and innovation to all who visit. Have you ever looked at the Eiffel Tower and seen just a beautiful landmark? A spot for a romantic selfie? Well, what if I told you that this iconic structure is more than just a pretty face? What if I told you it was a weapon, a symbol of defiance, and a testament to the resilience of a nation? Today, we're uncovering the secret life of the Iron Lady, a story of war, resistance, art, and dreams, forged in iron and written against the Parisian sky. Let's rewind to 1914. Europe is on the brink of war, and Paris is a city holding its breath. As soldiers marched through the streets, the Eiffel Tower, once a controversial marvel of engineering, was about to find a new, vital purpose. It wasn't just a monument anymore, it was being conscripted. Its towering height, which had once been criticized, now became its greatest asset. Fitted with a powerful antenna, the tower was transformed into a massive radio communications hub, a silent sentinel watching over the city. This wasn't just a side job, it was critical to the war effort. From its perch high above Paris, The tower's radio station became the nerve center for the French military. It relayed crucial orders to the front lines, and, more importantly, it listened. It intercepted German radio communications, deciphering coded messages that gave the French army a priceless advantage. One of its most legendary achievements came during the First Battle of the Marne. The tower's operators intercepted unencrypted German messages that revealed weaknesses in their lines and helped direct French troops to counterattack. The German advance was halted, and Paris was saved. Many historians argue that without the Eiffel Tower's contribution, the outcome of that battle and perhaps the war itself could have been devastatingly different. The Iron Lady had proven her worth, not just as an ornament, but as a guardian. Fast forward a couple of decades to the darkest days of World War II. Paris is under German occupation. The swastika flies over the city, and a chilling order is given directly from Adolf Hitler: destroy the Eiffel Tower. He wanted to erase this powerful symbol of French identity from the Parisian skyline forever. The governor of Paris, Dietrich Boncolt, was tasked with this demolition, but as the Allies closed in, he famously defied the command, saving the tower from certain destruction. But the French resistance had its own, more subtle ways of fighting back. When Hitler himself came to visit his newly conquered prize, he was met with a small but significant act of sabotage. The French had cut the elevator cables. If the Führer wanted to reach the top and survey his conquest, he would have to climb all 1,665 stairs. He declined. He never set foot on the upper levels of the tower he so desperately wanted to conquer and then destroy. It was a small victory, but a deeply symbolic one. The tower refused to bow to him, and as Paris was finally liberated, the tricolor flag was once again hoisted atop the tower, a soaring symbol of freedom regained and a nation's unbreakable spirit. With the wars behind it, the Eiffel Tower returned to its original role, but now with a deeper meaning. It was no longer just a tourist attraction. It was the heart of a healing Paris, a beacon of peace and hope. To keep this heart beating, a monumental task began. Its preservation. Every 7 to 10 years, the tower undergoes a complete makeover. Imagine this: a team of specialized painters, suspended hundreds of meters in the air, applying nearly 60 tons of paint by hand. This isn't just for looks. This thick coat of Eiffel Tower brown is a shield, protecting the intricate iron lattice from rust, wind, and rain. It's a constant, painstaking labor of love to ensure the Iron Lady ages gracefully. And as it stood tall, repainted and revitalized, it cemented its place in global culture. The tower became a movie star, sharing the screen with Hollywood legends and appearing in countless films. From dramatic thrillers to romantic comedies, it inspired writers, filled the pages of novels, and became a recurring character in the dreams of people all over the world. It evolved into the ultimate romantic backdrop, its glittering lights witnessing thousands upon thousands of marriage proposals for couples from every corner of the globe. Getting engaged under the Eiffel Tower became a quintessential declaration of love. From its observation decks, millions of visitors have gazed out at the sprawling beauty of Paris. They've watched the city lights sparkle like a carpet of diamonds, the Seine River winding its way through the heart of it all. Up there, with the wind in your hair and the world at your feet, there's a feeling of magic, a momentary belief that you are touching the sky. The tower offers more than just a view. It offers a perspective, a chance to see the world from a different angle and to feel a part of something grand and timeless. So, when you look at the Eiffel Tower, what do you really see? It's more than just 10,000 tons of meticulously arranged iron. It is a living repository of memory. It holds the echoes of soldiers' voices, the defiant whispers of the resistance, and the joyful gasps of lovers. It is a physical manifestation of hope, a structure that has weathered to world wars, political turmoil, and the simple passage of time, yet continues to stand strong. It is, in essence, the very heartbeat of Paris, a living poem written in iron against the canvas of the sky. Gustave Eiffel's audacious dream, once dismissed by critics as a useless and monstrous blot on the landscape, has outlasted its detractors. It has stood against storms, both literal and metaphorical, and has become one of the most beloved and recognizable structures on Earth. And even now, long after the sun has set, and the city of Paris has drifted off to sleep, the Iron Lady remains awake. Every hour, Her golden lights burst into a dazzling sparkle, a silent, shimmering celebration. She stands guard over the sleeping city, her beacon sweeping across the rooftops, whispering her incredible story of survival, beauty, and enduring strength to anyone who dares to look up and dream. In the heart of Paris, as dawn breaks, a monument pierces the sky, shimmering in golden light. This is the Eiffel Tower, a symbol of love, revolution, and boundless human ambition. For over a century, it has stood as a silent witness to history, watching empires fall, lovers embrace, and the world transform beneath its iconic steel arches. But its elegant silhouette hides a turbulent story of controversy, genius, and sheer survival. This isn't just a tale of metal and bolts. It's the story of how one man's audacious dream reshaped the skyline of Paris forever. Travel back with me to the late 1800s. The world was alive with the hum of change. Electricity, steam power, and steel were forging a new era, industrial revolution. As France prepared for the grand 1889 World's Fair, an event celebrating 100 years since the French Revolution, the nation was eager to showcase its modern prowess. And one man, a visionary engineer named Gustave Eiffel, had an idea so bold, so revolutionary, it would challenge the very limits of what was thought possible. To build a tower taller than anything humanity had ever seen. When Eiffel unveiled his proposal for a 300-meter iron tower, the artistic and literary elite of Paris were again décaillérité, disgrace to the city, a tragic street lamp, a monstrous, useless skeleton of iron. Newspapers lampooned the project, and a petition signed by prominent figures like Alexandre Dumas and Guy de Maupassant demanded it be stopped. But Eiffel was undeterred. He passionately declared, "I want to show that metal can have the grace of beauty." Against a storm of opposition, construction began in January 1887. Every single rivet, every massive beam, was designed with breathtaking mathematical precision. It was a symphony of engineering. Imagine the scene. 300 workers, suspended hundreds of feet in the air, battling wind and weather. They weren't just construction workers, they were pioneers. Eiffel, obsessed with safety, implemented groundbreaking precautions, movable scaffolding, and strict protocols. Miraculously, not a single life was lost during the tower's construction, an incredible feat for the time. For 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days, they labored tirelessly, piece by piece. The colossal structure climbed higher, defying its critics and capturing the imagination of the world. As the final section was hoisted into place, Paris had a new crown jewel, and the world had a new wonder. On March 31st, 1889, the Eiffel Tower was complete. It was an instant sensation. The very people who had scorned it now flocked to see it. During the World's Fair, nearly 2 million visitors ascended its heights, gazing out at a view no human had ever seen before. From its viewing platforms, you could see the entire city laid out like a map, a panorama of progress and history. The tower wasn't just a structure, it was an experience. It became the ultimate symbol of modernity, a testament to France's industrial and engineering might. But its life was meant to be short. The original plan was to dismantle it after just 20 years. As the 1909 deadline approached, the tower's fate hung in the balance. Its detractors re-emerged, eager to see the iron asparagus torn down. But by then, the tower had found a new purpose, one that would save it from destruction. Eiffel, ever the innovator, had transformed it into a scientific laboratory. It became a hub for meteorology, astronomy, and physics experiments. But its most crucial role was yet to come. With the advent of radio, the tower's height made it the perfect antenna. It played a vital part in the first transatlantic radio transmissions. Then came World War I. The tower's radio station became a critical military asset. It was used to jam German communications and intercept enemy messages. One of its most famous contributions was intercepting a crucial German radio signal in 1914, which helped the French army halt the German advance at the Battle of the Marne, a turning point in the war. The useless tower had become a national hero, solidifying its place not just in the Parisian skyline, but in the heart of the French people. It had proven its worth beyond any doubt. Over the decades, the Eiffel Tower has become so much more than an engineering marvel. It has woven itself into the fabric of global culture, It's the backdrop for countless films, the inspiration for artists, and the ultimate symbol of romance. Millions of couples have shared their first kiss under its glittering lights, making it a universal beacon of love. It has been illuminated in the colors of nations and solidarity, celebrated victories, and mourned losses. It reflects the mood of the city, the nation, and sometimes the entire world. Today, the Eiffel Tower stands taller than ever, not just in height, but in significance. It receives nearly 7 million visitors a year, each one creating their own memory beneath its intricate lattice. It continues to evolve, with new lighting systems that make it sparkle every hour on the hour after dusk, a dazzling spectacle that never gets old. Gustave Eiffel's dream wasn't just to build a tall structure, it was to create something that would inspire awe and wonder. He succeeded beyond his wildest imagination. The tower is a reminder that with courage, vision, and perseverance, we can turn the impossible into the iconic. So the next time you see a picture of the Eiffel Tower, or perhaps you're lucky enough to stand beneath it, remember its story. Remember the controversy, the struggle, and the ultimate triumph. It's not just a tourist attraction. It's a monument to human ingenuity, a survivor that became a savior, and a timeless symbol of how a bold idea can truly change the world. It's the soul of Paris, cast in iron and reaching for the stars. In the soft dawn over the city, as golden sunlight spills across the rooftops, a giant awakens. Its iron bones gleam under the morning light, a monument not of marble or stone, but of courage, creation, and fierce controversy. This is the story of the Eiffel Tower, the Iron Lady who, against all odds, became the soul of Paris. The Eiffel Tower is more than just iron and rivets. It's an emotion. It's the very heartbeat of Paris, whispering tales of passion, innovation, and enduring strength. Its creator, Gustave Eiffel, once remarked, "I ought to be jealous of the tower. She is more famous than I am." And he was right. But beneath her world-renowned beauty lies a dramatic past that few truly know. A story born from revolution, fueled by ambition, and tested by the unforgiving hand of time. Our story begins in the late 1800s. Europe was a continent in the grips of change, racing towards a new future. Steam engines roared to life, telegraphs crackled, connecting distant lands, and human ambition was soaring to unprecedented heights. In France, a new century of invention was dawning. To celebrate the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution, Paris planned a grand spectacle, the 1889 Exposition, a world's fair designed to showcase France's genius to the entire world. But a monumental question hung in the air. What could possibly stand as a symbol of this new age? What could be bold enough to represent an era of science, industry, and steel? The call went out for a design for a temporary, 300-meter-tall tower to serve as the grand entrance to the exposition. Hundreds of proposals flooded in, ranging from the practical to the downright bizarre. One design featured a colossal water sprinkler to combat droughts, while another proposed a giant guillotine to honor the revolution. But amidst the chaos, one idea, initially sketched by two of Gustave Eiffel's senior engineers, Maurice Koechlin and Emile Nouguier, stood out. It was a daring latticework pylon of iron, a structure unlike anything the world had ever seen. At first, Gustave Eiffel himself was skeptical. He thought the design was too stark, too industrial. But his engineers, with the help of architect Stephen Sylvester, who added the decorative arches and other elegant flourishes, refined the concept. They transformed it from a mere engineering feat into a work of art. Eiffel, a master bridge builder renowned for his work on structures like the Garabet Viaduct and the internal frame of the Statue of Liberty, saw the potential. He bought the rights to the patent and put his own name and reputation on the line, submitting the design under his company's name. In 1886, his vision was chosen. The contract was signed, and the clock started ticking. He had just over 2 years to build the tallest structure in the world. But as soon as the plans were made public, Paris erupted in protest. A committee of 300, led by some of France's most celebrated artists and writers, including the likes of Guy de Maupassant and Alexandre Dumas, published a fiery letter. They called the tower a useless and monstrous creation, a truly tragic street lamp, and a hateful column of bolted sheet metal. They argued that this dizzily ridiculous tower would dominate Paris like a gigantic black smokestack, crushing all the city's historic monuments, Notre Dame, the Louvre, the Arc de Triomphe, under its barbaric bulk. For them, it was an insult to the delicate, artistic soul of Paris. Imagine the pressure on Eiffel. The artistic elite des Saisons in the public was skeptical, and the engineering desafio was colossal. Yet, he was unyielding. He responded to his critics with an artistic conviction, arguing that the laws of nature and force were inherently beautiful. He declared that his tower, designed to withstand the wind, would possess its own unique grace and strength. He pushed forward, driven by a belief that this structure would symbolize not just the exposition, but the very essence of modern French engineering and progress. Construction began on January 28, 1887. The site was a hive of activity. First, massive foundations were dug, extending deep into the Parisian soil to support the immense weight of the iron. Each of the tower's 4 legs required its own concrete foundation, a marvel of 19th century engineering in itself. Then, the ironwork began. This is where Eiffel's genius. The tower wasn't built on sightly berdagi. It was prefabricated. Each of the 18,038 individual iron pieces was meticulously designed, calculated, and manufactured at Eiffel's factory in a suburb of Paris. Every hole for the 2.5 million rivets was pre-drilled to within 1/10 of a millimeter's accuracy. This was industrial precision on a scale never before witnessed. These pieces were then transported to the Champ de Mars and assembled like a Crioncus's Meccano set, but on a gargantuan scale. Crews of highly skilled workers, many of them former sailors and bridge builders accustomed to working at great heights, swarmed over the growing lattice, using steam-powered cranes that crawled up the tower's own legs. They hoisted the massive iron girders into place. Rivet teams, working in groups of 4, heated the rivets to a glowing red, watched them, Teminto, Tahosando, Hamado Zema, into praise. The rhythmic sound of their hammers echoed across Paris, a relentless symphony construction. The speed and safety of the construction were revolutionary. Despite the perilous heights and the lack of modern safety equipment like hard hats or harnesses, the project was a model of efficiency and worker safety. In an era when projects often claimed many lives, only one worker fatality occurred during the entire construction period, and it happened off-site. Eiffel implemented movable stagings, guardrails, and other safety measures that were far ahead of his time. He was as committed to his workers' lives as he was to his tower's integrity. As the tower climbed higher and higher, public opinion began to shift. The initial outrage slowly turned into awe and fascination. Parisians would gather to watch the iron giant grow, inch by inch, meta by meta. It rose above the city's skyline, a skeletal marvel against the clouds. By March 31st, 1889, just in time for the opening of the exposition, it was complete. Gustave Eiffel himself climbed the final steps and hoisted a large French tricolor flag at its summit to the roar of a 21-gun salute. At 300 meters, it was officially the tallest man-made structure in the world, doubling the height of the previous record holder. The Washington Monument, the 1889 Exposition Universelle, was a resounding success, and the Eiffel Tower was its undeniable star. Nearly 2 million people visited the tower during the fair. They rode a new invention, the elevator, up to its observation decks, and were rewarded with panoramic views of Paris that had never been seen before. Thomas Edison, who visited the tower, was so impressed that he signed the guest book with the message, "To Monsieur Eiffel, the engineer, the brave builder of so gigantic an original a specimen of modern engineering, from one who has the greatest respect and admiration for all engineers, including the great engineer, the bon Dieu." The tower wasn't just a viewpoint, it was a symbol of the future. It housed restaurants, a post office, and even a small printing press that produced a daily newspaper. Le Figaro de la Tour. At night, it was illuminated by thousands of gas lamps, glowing like a beacon of progress over the city of light. But remember, the tower was intended to be temporary. The original contract stipulated that it was to be dismantled after 20 years. As the 1909 deadline approached, its fate hung in the balance. Many of its original detractors still wanted it gone. However, the tower had a final, unexpected trick up its sleeve. Gustave Eiffel, ever the pragmatist, had been promoting his tower's scientific usefulness from the very beginning. He had built a meteorology lab at the top and encouraged experiments in physics and aerodynamics. Its most crucial role, however, came with the advent of a new technology: wireless telegraphy. The tower's height made it an unparalleled antenna. In the early 1900s, it became a vital radio telegraph station. During World War I, its military importance. The tower's radio station intercepted enemy German communications, playing a critical role in the Allied victory at the First Battle of the Marne. It had proven itself not useless, but invaluable. The monstrous tower had saved Paris. Its demolition was unthinkable. And so, the Iron Lady stayed. Through wars, cultural revolutions, and the changing face of Paris, she has remained. She has been a canvas for artists, a muse for poets, and a backdrop for history. She's been painted, celebrated, and climbed by millions. She has transmitted France's first public radio programs and its first television signals. Today, the Eiffel Tower is more than a monument. It's a global icon, recognized and loved by people all over the world. It draws nearly 7 million visitors each year, making it one of the most visited paid monuments on the planet. Every evening, it sparkles to life with 20,000 light bulbs. A dazzling spectacle that reaffirms its place in the heart of Paris. From a controversial, temporary structure to the eternal soul of a nation, the story of the Eiffel Tower is a testament to vision, perseverance, and the power of innovation to create timeless beauty. As long as Paris stands, the Iron Lady will rise proudly. A timeless reminder that with courage and ingenuity, we can build wonders that outlive us all and inspire generations to come. Imagine late 19th century Paris, a city electric with the buzz of a new era. Industry is booming, inventions are changing the world, and France is preparing to host the grand 1889 World's Fair, a centennial celebration of the French Revolution. In this whirlwind of progress and ambition, one man dared to dream on a scale that bordered on madness. His name was Alexander Gustave Eiffel. Eiffel wasn't just any dreamer. He was a master engineer, a pioneer whose revolutionary iron bridges already crisscrossed Europe. He was known for his precision, his understanding of metal, and his ability to blend strength with elegance. But his next project would eclipse everything that had come before. He envisioned a monument not of stone or marble, but of pure iron. A lattice-like structure that would soar into the heavens, reaching an unprecedented height of 300 meters. It would be a testament to the industrial age, a symbol of French ingenuity that would leave the world breathless. To the Parisian elite, however, this vision was a nightmare. Iron. That was the stuff of factories, of railways, of grimy, functional machines. It was considered crude, ugly, and entirely unsuitable for a monument in the heart of the world's most beautiful city. The artistic and literary circles were against, but Eiffel saw things differently. For him, engineering was an art form. He believed that the principles of structural integrity, the graceful curves needed to withstand the wind, the intricate web of girders providing strength, held their own profound beauty. My tower, he insisted, will be both useful and beautiful, a testament to the age of industry. He was determined to prove that a structure could be a masterpiece of science and a work of art at the same time. When Eiffel officially unveiled his design, the backlash was swift and brutal. The city's cultural gatekeepers united in opposition. A group of Paris's most prominent artists and writers, including luminaries like Guy de Maupassant and Alexandre Dumas, the younger, penned a furious open letter. They decried the tower as a monstrous black smokestack, a truly tragic street lamp that would cast a hideous shadow over the city, this cherished landmarks. One particularly venomous critic wrote, "We shall see this gigantic, dizzying skeleton crushing beneath its weight. All of our monuments, Notre Dame, the Louvre, the Arc de Triomphe, the Presse lampooned the design, calling it everything from a metal asparagus to an iron turnip." Eiffel found himself standing almost entirely alone, weathering a storm of public ridicule and professional scorn. Lesser men, would have buckled under the pressure, but Gustave Eiffel was made of the same unyielding material as his tower. With a calm and unwavering conviction, he faced his detractors head-on. He argued that the tower's form was not arbitrary, but dictated by the laws of physics, creating a natural and elegant silhouette. He countered every attack with facts, figures, and an unshakable belief in his vision. In a powerful public declaration, he proclaimed the tower will be the pride of France, the envy of the world. With that, the debate was over. In 1887, against all odds, construction began. A nervous Paris held its breath, waiting to see if this would be a triumph or a travesty. The scale of the undertaking was mind-boggling. In Eiffel's factory on the outskirts of Paris, a symphony of fire and steel began. More than 18,000 individual pieces of puddled iron, each one meticulously designed and documented, were forged. This wasn't just construction, it was a gigantic, three-dimensional puzzle. Every hole was pre-drilled, every angle calculated with scientific precision down to a tenth of a millimeter, ensuring a perfect fit on site. The logistics were a marvel of modern organization. Then, on the Champ de Mars, the real drama unfolded. A small army of over 300 workers, many of them former bridge builders, began the perilous task of assembly. They were true daredevils, modern-day acrobats of the industrial age. In an era before modern safety equipment, they climbed the growing structure with nothing but their bare hands, incredible balance, and raw courage. There were no safety nets, no harnesses. They navigated the iron skeleton, hammering hot rivets into place hundreds of feet above the ground, their silhouettes etched against the sky. The sound of their hammers became the heartbeat of Paris. Day by day, the tower grew. Parisians, who had initially scoffed, began to gather daily to watch the spectacle. Disbelief slowly turned to fascination, and fascination bloomed into awe. The intricate ironwork, which had seemed so ugly on paper, revealed a delicate, lace-like beauty as it rose. The four great legs curved inward, meeting in a graceful arc, defying gravity. The impossible was taking shape before their very eyes. Finally, in March of 1889, just over 2 years after the first spade hit the ground, the final piece was hoisted into place. At 324 meters, the Eiffel Tower was complete. It was now, by a huge margin, the tallest man-made structure on Earth. On opening day, a proud Gustave Eiffel climbed all 1,710 steps to the top himself. He planted the French flag and declared to the world, France is not behind in progress. She leads the world. When the 1889 World's Fair opened its gates, the tower was no longer a controversial project. It was the star of the show. It was an instant, global sensation. Visitors from every corner of the Earth flocked to see it. Over 2 million people ascended its iron stairs in elevators during the fair alone. The experience was transformative. From its viewing decks, Paris unfolded below like a living map, a perspective no human had ever seen before. For some, the height was terrifying. For others, it was exhilarating. It became more than just a structure of iron. It became a symbol of human audacity, a monument to progress, and a testament to the power of a single, unwavering vision. But even in triumph, the tower's future was uncertain. The original permit stipulated that it was a temporary structure, to be dismantled after just 20 years. Many of its old critics were still grumbling, calling it a disgrace and eagerly counting down the days until its demolition. But Gustave Eiffel had not built his tower for a single fair. As he said, "I have built it not for the fair, but for the future." He knew its survival depended on making it indispensable. So, he brilliantly transformed the tower from a tourist attraction into a vital scientific laboratory. He established a weather station at its summit, pioneering the field of meteorology by measuring wind speeds and atmospheric pressure at altitude. More importantly, he championed its use for the new, groundbreaking technology of wireless telegraphy. The tower's height made it the perfect radio antenna. During World War I, its transmitter intercepted critical enemy communications, helping to secure a decisive victory at the Battle of the Marne. The Iron Lady, as it came to be known, had proven her worth. She had found her permanent purpose. Today, it's impossible to imagine Paris without the Eiffel Tower. the monstrous black smokestack has become the universally recognized symbol of the city, an icon of romance, art, and adventure. It stands not as a scar on the landscape, but as its glittering crown jewel, beloved by the very city that once fought so hard to reject it. It's a powerful reminder that the greatest innovations often arise from controversy, and that, with courage and conviction, one person's madness can truly become the pride and envy of the world. Have you ever looked at a masterpiece and wondered how it came to be? Today, we're rediving into the incredible story of one of the world's most famous landmarks, the Eiffel Tower. It's a tale of ambition, controversy, and ultimate triumph that you won't want to miss. So, picture this. It's the late 19th century in Paris. An engineer named Gustave Eiffel proposes something ridiculous, 300-meter tall tower made entirely of iron for the upcoming 1889 World's Fair. Sounds impressive, right? Well, not to everyone. The people of Paris were absolutely horrified. Imagine the outcry. Over 300 of the most prominent artists and intellectuals of the day, including famous names like Alexandre Dumas, signed a petition calling it a truly tragic street lamp and a gigantic black smokestack. Newspapers had a field day, mocking it as a useless and monstrous iron skeleton that would disgrace the city of art and beauty. The public pressure was immense. Many believed it would be an eyesore, a blight on the Parisian skyline. They couldn't see the vision. They only saw a cold, industrial structure invading their romantic city. But Gustave Eiffel was not a man easily swayed. He was a brilliant engineer who had already built incredible bridges and structures across the world. He had a vision that went far beyond what his critics could comprehend. In response to the backlash, he made a powerful declaration. I believe that the tower will have its own beauty. Are we to believe that because one is an engineer, one is not preoccupied by beauty in one's constructions? He was determined to prove that iron, a material of the industrial age, could be just as graceful and artistic as stone. He wanted to show the world that France was at the forefront of modern engineering. So, against a storm of opposition, Eiffel stood his ground. The project was approved, and in January 1887, construction began on the Champ de Mars. The sheer scale of the project was mind-boggling for the time. Every single one of the 18,038 iron pieces was meticulously designed and calculated down to the 1/10 of a millimeter. These pieces were prefabricated in Eiffel's factory on the outskirts of Paris before being brought to the construction site. It was like assembling the world's most complex, gigantic puzzle. The foundation alone was an engineering marvel, dug deep into the ground to support the immense weight. On site, a team of around 300 workers faced incredible challenges. They worked high above the city, using steam-powered cranes to hoist the massive iron girders into place. They secured them with over 2.5 million rivets, a physically demanding and dangerous job. Yet, thanks to Eiffel's strict safety protocols and brilliant planning, the construction was remarkably safe. Piece by piece, the 4 massive legs began to curve inward, rising to meet in the sky. Parisians who had once scorned the project now watched in awe as the structure grew taller each day, a testament to human ingenuity. In just 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days in, astonishing speed for the Eiffel Tower was complete. On March 31st, 1889, Gustave Eiffel, accompanied by a group of officials, climbed the 1,710 steps to the very top. There, with the city of Paris sprawling beneath him, he proudly hoisted the French tricolor flag. The crowd below erupted in a massive cheer, and cannons fired a 21-gun salute. The Iron Lady, as she would come to be known, had officially been born. She was the tallest man-made structure in the world, a title she would hold for over 40 years. The once-hated smokestack was now a symbol of French pride and a miracle of modern engineering. When the 1889 World's Fair opened, the Eiffel Tower was the star of the show. People from every corner of the globe flocked to see this wonder of the modern world. Carriages lined the streets, and fireworks lit up the night sky around the illuminated tower. In that first year alone, nearly 2 million visitors climbed its stairs or took its brand new elevators to experience the breathtaking, panoramic views of Paris. It was an overwhelming success, a triumph of art, science, and sheer willpower. It proved that the impossible was, in fact, possible. But the story doesn't end there. The original agreement stated that the tower was only supposed to stand for 20 years, to be dismantled after the fair. Even with its popularity, many of its original critics still wanted it gone. But Eiffel was a visionary, not just an engineer. He knew the tower had to have a purpose beyond being a tourist attraction. He fought to save his creation by turning it into a vital scientific laboratory. He installed a weather station at the top, conducted experiments on wind resistance, and even used it for astronomical observations. Most importantly, the tower's height made it an ideal platform for the new science of radio. It became a crucial transmission tower, playing a significant role in long-distance communication. This scientific utility is what ultimately saved the Eiffel Tower from demolition. It had proven itself indispensable. The tower's strength was tested not just by critics, but by history itself. It stood firm through 2 world wars, becoming a powerful symbol of French resilience. During World War I, its radio transmitter was used to jam German communications, playing a crucial role in the Battle of the Marne. In World War II, when Paris fell under German occupation, French resistance fighters famously cut the tower's elevator cables. The story goes that they did this so that if Hitler wanted to reach the top, he'd have to climb the stairs. Whether he tried or not, the act was a defiant symbol of resistance. The tower, which was supposed to be a temporary structure, had become an enduring emblem of the French spirit. After the war, it once again became the beating heart of Paris, a place for lovers to meet, artists to find inspiration, and dreamers to look up to. Today, the Eiffel Tower is more than just a monument. It's a global icon. It's one of the most visited paid monuments on Earth, welcoming around 7 million people every year. Engineers continuously work to maintain and repaint, a process that happens every 7 years and requires 60 tons of paint. It has inspired countless artists, photographers, and filmmakers. It's been the backdrop for romantic moments, thrilling action scenes, and profound artistic expressions. And every single night, for 5 minutes at the top of every hour, its structure glitters with 20,000 sparkling lights, a dazzling spectacle that captivates locals and tourists alike. From a controversial skeleton of iron to a beloved symbol of love, art, and innovation, the Eiffel Tower's story is a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest ideas are the ones that face the most resistance. So, the next time you see a picture of the Eiffel Tower, I hope you'll remember the incredible journey it took to get there. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this story with me. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And do you forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next journey into history. See you next time.